Quite honestly, one of the takeaways for 2023 should really have been, no matter what has happened, time after time after time after time again, Liz Truss has just refused to go away, despite being the most embarrassing moment in British political history, known forever as the shortest serving prime minister who, remember, almost crashed the economy and almost destroyed the UK pensions industry, which we have said now, if that would have happened, what we are facing now is a complete walk in the park to what would have happened if she had completely crashed the economy and taken the UK pensions industry with it at the same time. The economic realities that we would be facing if that had happened would have been ginormous. But time and time again, Liz Truss just refuses to go away. Not only that, what's even more shocking is that you are not seeing other Conservatives come out and go, for God's sakes, woman, just shut up and go away. You're just too embarrassing for us. You're too embarrassing for the brand. Yet, we had, of course, the Conservative Party conference where Liz Truss packed out an entire room compared to the, actual Conservative Party conference. It was kind of embarrassing. Not only that, she went and did a massive, almost victory lap, a very much undeserved victory lap of America, soliciting all kinds of donations, something I think that should be looked at. How much money did Liz Truss make from all those speeches and things that she went on and did in America with things like the Heritage Foundation, who have openly quite said, yeah, we want to get rid of the NHS. Not privatize it, just get rid of it completely. So, the one good thing that comes out of Liz Truss dropping her resignation honours list, or horror list, I suppose, whichever way you want to take it, is the fact that this is yet again going to highlight, just as Boris Johnson's resignation honours list did, of the desperate, and I mean really desperate, need to reform the House of Lords. Because this is something we have talked about on this channel time and time and time again. House of Lords reform has not only massive cross-party support from both Conservative voters, Labour voters, voters of every different shape and stripes, massively support House of Lords reform. What is needed to do it is the political will to do it. And I will admit, if Labour decided to do this, this would be a massive spending of political capital in order to be able to do it, because it is not going to be an easy thing to do. And not only that, but what do you replace it with? I've often talked about changing it for a house of regional representatives. So you look at sort of all the different counties. Do we split it up into that for all the UK? And then you go, right, well, each county has, I don't know, 5, again, just number off the top of my head, and sort of those people are elected by sort of PR, sort of, depending on sort of how the vote share goes, that's how many of those people from the party sort of get those seats. Again, it's just an idea. I will admit it's not fully thought out, but it is just an idea of something far better we could have instead of the current setup in the House of Lords, where someone like Liz Truss can just come along and just go, there you go, appointed for life. And you have a lot of political power and persuasion now in the House of Lords forever. And the other thing that a lot of people have pointed out, and I will point this out as well, even though I really do not like the House of Lords, sometimes I am some sort of grateful that we have it, because it very often can sometimes be the only place where we have adult and grown-up discussions about policy and politics sometimes, especially from the last couple of years. I will not lie in the fact that even though the House of Lords is really, really bad, And again, still no reason to keep it, by the way. Even though it is really, really bad, the House of Lords has made the discussions in, in the House of the discussion in the House of Commons look like two arguing children, whereas in the House of Lords, it at least is almost a discussion about adults, about serious topics, serious things. But again, still no reason to keep it. And I will remind people, this is still no reason to keep the House of Lords, despite however many people, good people, you might think are in the House of Lords. There are several other people behind them who you might never have heard of, are just as infinitely worse. And what has happened now is that for the past couple of years, really since 2016, it has been the only place where we have had actual sensible discussions about Brexit and its consequences. And not only from Boris Johnson's list, but especially from Liz Truss's list. There have been a number of high-profile Brexit-supporting people who also, in some cases, heavily backed the Leave campaign, where they are going in with, I think, a express purpose of trying to put more pro-Brexit lords in there to try and stop and derail these discussions from happening. I really feel that is the case. And even more worrying so, what happens, or at least what would these lords do if we made attempts to maybe try and rejoin? Would they, for example, try and stop a bill going through that might, be a second referendum? Might they try and stop that in some way? Or might they maybe even try and change the rules around that referendum to try and basically favor a way for them to win? It should be very, very worrying to a lot of people on the pro-European side that we are seeing more and more conservatives try and stack the House of Lords with more pro-Brexiteers. It should be very, very concerning to a lot of us. And like I say, if you do think this, then you need to get on board for that House of Lords reform train. You desperately need to get on board with that. But we're going to have a quick look at the BBC News article covering this. So I think there's a really good point that this makes. So this is it, a slap in the face. So Miss Truss, who campaigned to remain in the EU, but later became a standard bearer for the Brexit-supporting Tory right, said that I'm delighted that these champions are for the conservative cause of freedom, limited government, and a proud and sovereign Britain have been suitably honoured. Again, really worrying that you get these types of people being heavily stacked now in the House of Lords. Because what if you do get, a Labour government that maybe wants to expand, the government, improve the places where we have these. What we want to expand government, in offices or what if you've got these limited government guys now in there that are just going to cause trouble? And here's the thing, you can't get rid of them. This is what I often try to point. If there is a bad lord, it is incredibly hard to get rid of them. Michelle Mone, perfect example. Yes, she's no longer a conservative peer, but she's still got the peerage. It is incredibly hard to actually remove her. Even though she's lost the conservative peerage of it. So she's just now an independent peer. So again, it's just highlighting just how hard it is once these people get in, how hard it is to actually get rid of them. And again, why we need to reform it. So Miss Truss was obviously forced to stand down as Prime Minister in October of 2022 after a mini-budget sparked economic turmoil. Labour and the Lib Dems have called on Rishi Sunak to block her resignation honours list, with Shadow Cabinet Officer Minister Jonathan Ashworth saying that this list is proof positive of Rishi Sunak's weakness and a slap in the face to working people who are paying the price for Tories crashing the economy. The honours list should be for those to committing a public service, not rewards for Tory failure. Deputy Lib Dem leader Daisy Cooper said that Truss handing out the gongs after blowing up a hole in the public finances and leaving families reeling from spiraling mortgage costs calls the whole honours system into disrepute. Downing Street insists that Truss list had gone through all the usual checks and that was released at the same time as the New Year's honours list because it had only just been finalised. Again, again, incredible timing for all that. Really convenient. A Downing Street source said that every past Labour Prime Minister has issued a dissolution or resignation list. And this is a long-standing and ongoing convention, even with the pre-updates of the creation of the Labour Party. The convention of incumbent prime ministers does not block the political peerage process of others, which the source said included, quote, dubious past selections by Labour. Of course, making a case about the cash for honours scandal. And again, I do agree it does set a bad precedent in the Labour Party for that happening in the past. But that was in the past. And it's still no excuse to allow someone like Liz Truss, who was barely even Prime Minister, barely even got her feet warm under the desk before she was quickly turfed out. The idea of giving her an honours list, quite frankly, is a massive slap in the face. And it does call the whole system, the whole honours system, into complete disrepute. I will agree with Daisy Cooper on that. But the big thing for this is that we need to be absolutely not only completely getting rid of the honours system, but completely reforming the House of Lords and replacing it with an elected body. That should be the message that Labour, the Lib Dems, and everyone else should be driving home at this time. So the last part of this, Hannah White, the director for the Institute of the Government think tank, said the resignation honours brought in the wider honour system now into disrepute and should be done away with. The handing out of peerages was a particular problem, she said, with a person being given a job for life legislating on behalf of the country on the say-so of a single individual. And this is just part of the problem because some of these people who were put in. So who are some of these new people who are going to be massively problematic? Well, Matthew Elliott, for one, the founder of the Taxpayers Alliance, the group that masquerades as, oh, we're the Taxpayers Alliance. We're just, super annoyed that you're misusing our taxpayer-funded money for, social programs. But who funds the Taxpayers Alliance? Well, again, we don't know. Ruth Porter, she ran Truss's election campaign. She's been, again, put into the House of Lords. Jonathan Malone, again, former chief executive and former PA of consulting group, which chaired the Vote Leave campaign. This is insane. But it is something I will make this point again before we finish. I am worried about the fact that you are seeing the Conservatives continuously put in people into the House of Lords that are not only from special interest groups like the Taxpayers Alliance, but are increasingly coming from these pro-Brexit organizations. Because this will cause problem for the future if we want to sort of rejoin things in the EU. Not even just if we want to go become full EU members, but rejoin things like the customs union or even the single market. These people are going to cause problems. Specifically because they have an agenda and they have a specific paid for agenda. Especially worrying when you've got someone like Matthew Elliott from the Taxpayers Alliance. Especially worrying when someone like him gets given such an honor. So once again, even though Liz Truss dropped this list and it's absolutely awful, it should have been blocked, it should have never have happened. She has done us yet again, like Boris Johnson did, a massive favour of yet again making the case of why we need to reform the House of Lords into an elected body so desperately. Because until that happens, you are going to get even more worse people being elected and being made lords for life. Because remember, we've had, you know, David Cameron's list, we've had Theresa May's list, we've had Boris Johnson's list, we've had Liz Truss's list. We're going to get Rishi Sunak's list. And yet they are just putting more and more worse people in there. It is not going to be good. And just because there is, quote, someone good in the House of Lords, does not mean, we should keep this. It is well past its sell-by date. And it should be something that, we look at as a serious consequence and how you go about this and, how you do this. How do we go about reforming the House of Lords? What do we do about it? But we've talked about that plenty enough times. Like I say, we'll see what happens. And we'll see what the fallout eventually becomes of this. Because no doubt, in the new year, I highly suspect that this will be a point of contention, probably brought up in PMQs, and we'll see what other reactions there are from the press and how big an outrage this does become. But we'll have to see what happens. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.